Hello, I'm Neil Nunes with the BBC News. Voters in Chile have overwhelmingly rejected a new constitution that would have transformed the country's social and economic structure. 62% voted against the text that was meant to replace the constitution imposed by the military in 1980. Katie Watson has more details.
It's a crushing defeat for President Gabriel Boric, who came to power supporting the rewriting of the constitution. It was one of the key demands of protesters who took to the streets calling for an end to the deep inequalities in this country. But while Chileans overwhelmingly agree they want a new constitution, this was not the text that everyone could agree on. Broad in scope, there were criticisms over some of the proposals and controversies over the constituents elected to draft it. President Boric said ahead of the vote that if it didn't pass, he'd launch a new process to draft another constitution.
Police in the Canadian province of Saskatchewan are searching for 2 suspects after 10 people were stabbed to death. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police are investigating 13 possible crime scenes, including the indigenous area of James Smith Cree Nation. A private plane has crashed off the coast of Latvia after flying erratically over Germany and the Baltic Sea. Sophie Glass-Ryan reports.
The Cessna plane took off from Jerez in southern Spain, heading for Cologne in Germany. According to German media, it was carrying a pilot and a family of 3. The Bild newspaper said the plane reported cabin pressure problems after taking off, and then lost contact as it left the Iberian Peninsula. The aircraft turned twice at Paris and Cologne, then flew on past the Swedish island of Gotland. The pilots of German and Danish warplanes sent to check on it reported they were unable to see anyone in the cockpit or cabin. The private plane was later spotted spinning and crashing into the sea near the Latvian coast. Rescue helicopters and ships, including a passenger ferry, have been sent to the scene.
Germany's three-way coalition has hammered out a new package of support for people and businesses struggling with soaring living costs. The $65 billion arrangement will be partly funded by a windfall tax on energy producers. The measures come as many European countries try to find ways of coping with the energy crisis. Jessica Parker has more details.
A meeting of EU energy ministers later this week had been called before the indefinite shutdown of Nord Stream 1, but there is now an added sense of urgency. A draft document seen by the BBC sets out options for consideration. They include temporary gas price caps, reducing demand for electricity, and support for certain struggling parts of the energy market. This weekend, Sweden and Finland announced liquidity guarantees for power companies.
World news from the BBC. Germany's President Frank-Walter Steinmeier says it's shameful it took his country 50 years to reach a final compensation settlement with relatives of the Israeli athletes murdered in a terrorist attack at the Munich Olympics. Mr. Steinmeier was speaking ahead of a planned commemoration ceremony on Monday. 11 Israelis died during the attack by Palestinian militants. An attack on an Israeli bus in the occupied West Bank has left at least 7 people injured. The Israeli army said Palestinian gunmen opened fire near the settlement of Hamra. 5 soldiers and the bus's civilian driver were lightly hurt. Sunday's incident follows a shooting spree last month targeting an Israeli bus in occupied East Jerusalem. High security is in place in Kenya, where the Supreme Court is expected to deliver its judgment on a challenge to the result of last month's presidential election. The Electoral Commission declared the Deputy President William Ruto the winner, but his rival Raila Odinga alleges the system was hacked to reduce his votes. Ann Soy has this report.
More security teams have been deployed to potential hotspots of violence across the country. The Supreme Court made history 5 years ago when it annulled the outcome of the poll, citing procedural irregularities and illegalities. This time, Raila Odinga wants it to overturn the result and either declare him winner or order a rerun. He's accused his rival of hacking the electoral body's systems and deducting some of his votes.
The power grid operator in California has urged consumers to reduce their electricity usage as demand has soared because of an extreme heat wave. People are being encouraged to turn down their air conditioning, switch off unnecessary lights, and avoid using major appliances in the afternoons. BBC News.